Hey everybody, I'm Orion from Tau Games, and this is Shadowverse. Let's have a look at that, shall we? This just came out a couple of days ago on Steam following a green light release. And initially, this was and still is, rather, a mobile game. The card game very much in the same vein as Hearthstone. So, you're probably wondering, how is this any different and why would I ever want to give this a shot? Especially if you're already playing something like Hearthstone. And you would be right in thinking that this is very similar to that game. It is indeed. It does have a couple of very nice, unique features, dare I say, that kind of make it stand out. And personally, I feel quite compelled to play it, to be perfectly honest. I have played it for a little while on mobile as well, before I even found out that it's going to come out on Steam. And by looking at it, you would be forgiven to think that the main difference that it exhibits is that it is very much anime, as you can probably already see here by looking at all of these sort of cards in our little wheel, sort of tracker rotation-y thing here. Yep, it is very much an anime game, very Japanese like that, with some mechanics that are very, very familiar to Hearthstone indeed. I will, however, endeavor to do my best to exhibit all of the subtle little differences that kind of, in my opinion at least, make it stand out and be a very compelling game in and of itself. So, looking at it first and foremost, you need to know that it is still designed with a mobile interface in mind. So there's a lot of sort of clicking to tap, I guess, and dragging around, but that's not as big of a deal as you might imagine. The interface is perfectly usable on PC as well, and indeed, while playing it on mobile, I kind of felt like it was the only game that I sort of wanted to play more than just for 5 minutes on the toilet, like you normally would, I suppose, with most mobile games. So it's a very, very compelling game, in my opinion. It is absolutely multiplayer enabled, so playing it on Steam, you should be able to jump into multiplayer games very easily, just as you would with a Hearthstone match or so on. And it does have a similar monetization system, I suppose, to some extent, in the sense that you get card packs. And you can either get those card packs by completing various missions that the game throws at you, or you can buy those card packs with the in-game currency, the gold coins up here in the top right, or you can spend your life money on those little blue crystals in the top rightmost corner there, and you can then use those to unlock the respective card packs, of which there are 2 sets right now, and they appear to be coming out relatively regularly with new sets, so it'll be interesting to wait and see. It does have an arena system that is very similar to the Hearthstone's arena system as well, and other than that, it has a basic set of campaign missions as well, which is something that Hearthstone does not actually have, is a single-player experience. I mean, that's wrong, I guess, because they do have adventures in Hearthstone, at least recently, so I suppose I'm wrong on that one. Now, let's go over it a little bit. So, we have our solo play, we have our main story, and you can use any of the 7, I believe, classes available to you at the beginning of the game to complete the story with. Each class has their own individual story. They're all kind of connected together, and you basically just move from mission to mission, effectively just fighting against various AI-controlled opponents with their own specific deck themes. So in a sense, it's kind of similar. If you've ever played a Magic the Gathering game that's available on Steam, it's kind of similar to those sort of missions. You can also practice against a computer opponent, so you might want to do that if you want to test out a new deck of some description. Then you will have your multiplayer little module here, which will allow you to play unranked matches, ranked matches, which will give you a consistent rating, or private matches, challenging a specific player and or friend. Then the arena system is called Take Two. To play Take Two, you will need to have a ticket. Listed over there, the little red things. And 1 ticket allows you 1 shot at the Take Two arena system. Now, the Take-Two matches are 5 in number, so you have 5 rounds that you need to go through, and depending on how many rounds you actually win out of the set, you will get progressively higher and higher rewards. These rewards include rupees, so the gold, sort of in-game currency. They include card packs and things like that. So again, quite similar to something that you would see in Hearthstone. You can buy these tickets either with golden rupees, or you get them rewarded to you for completing various achievements, missions, or finalizing a single-player campaign, rather, as a main story from some sort of class that you'd like to play. Now, the Cards tab will give you access to your deck creator or editor, as well as a list of any cards that you have available to you. So they're listed here. Now, scrolling the mouse wheel up and down will move through your collection and show you your cards. If you click on any of these cards, you'll bring up sort of a detailed view of what it does. It will show you a nice piece of artwork here. So, I don't know, you may not be a fan of the anime style. If you are, or perhaps even if you aren't, you'll see that these cards are actually quite well designed. I happen to be quite a big fan of the art style. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Now, they're, you know, a bit of a disclaimer. You will see some typical, more or less, I suppose, anime tropes going around. You'll occasionally see the semi-naked, or let's say semi-clothed lady around here, or the character appearing rather unreasonably youthful for the set of circumstances they tend to find themselves in, like this young lady holding a musket here. But for all intents and purposes, the image itself, so you do have the artwork. Clicking on it will bring up a slightly expanded version. To the right side, you will find the name of the card, the class that it applies to. Like I said, there are 7 of these. Its traits, if there aren't any, as well as a list of those traits and what they do. So, for instance, we can look at this Veteran Lancer, and we see, for one, to the top left, we see that it costs 2 mana, that green symbol there. To the bottom, we see in blue a attack stat of 2 and a defense stat of 2. Very similar to Hearthstone again. Obviously, the blue one denotes how much damage it deals, while the red one, the shield icon, denotes how much damage it can take. You also have a vial cost listed. Vials are very much sort of arcane dust, so the cost to create it, to craft it yourself, if you will, and you can liquefy, effectively disenchant these cards to gain some of these vials to use on other cards. Now, in the description window itself, you can see this says unevolved and evolved and ward. Now, this is going to touch upon some very, very interesting new mechanic that you don't find in any other similar game, at least to my knowledge. So first off, if you click on that description, it will give you further details on the abilities listed. So in this case, ward is block or defend or whatever variation of that sort of very, very common functionality in trading card games that you usually see. And effectively it says that if you have one of these creatures down, then the opponent cannot attack you directly. They need to attack these warded creatures first. Now, the difference between unevolved and evolved is, for most cards, very straightforward in the sense that it results in a +2 overall buff to their stats. So you can see my unevolved stats are 2 attack, 2 defense. My evolved stats are 4 attack and 4 defense. Now, interestingly, this mechanic, how it works is, well, it's basically in the following way. Both players in a game have a limited number of evolve orb points that they can use on any of their creatures. So the person that goes first has 2 of these evolve points. The person that goes second at the start of the game has 3 of these evolve points. So a certain number of turns into the game, the evolve functionality becomes enabled, and you can then spend these points to evolve 1 creature per turn. Doing so effectively allows that creature to attack instantly, but only enemy creatures, not the opponent directly. It also buffs their stats, and also depending on the card that you're evolving, you might see secondary effects. There are cards around here that I'm probably sure I'm not going to be able to find in a pinch that have some very neat effects, like evolving 1 creature specifically will evolve all of your creatures on your board at the same time and give them all of the stat buff. Other creatures get additional sort of traits and functionalities when they become involved, and so on. So it's very, very interesting, and you don't really see that in other games. It also kind of, in my opinion at least, provides an added level of complexity to the game and a little bit of extra depth, because you never know, you kind of always kind of need to take into account the possibility that the enemy is going to evolve something and sort of surprise you with that, with extra stats if nothing else, and the ability to attack at the same time that they have actually put the creature down on the table. Side note, you also see that some of these cards are animated. This is this game's version of foiled cards, I suppose, and it's quite a pleasant effect. Now, when previewing one of these cards, you'll see a big green evolve button. If you click it, it will show you what the card actually looks like evolved, and you can see the artwork changes as well as the stats and potentially the traits of the card. very pleasant effect. The button right above the evolve button is basically toggle lore on and off, so you'll replace the description of the card's traits with a bit of lore for you, and it's different, slightly different at least, for evolved versions as well. So very, very interesting, very, very cute little touch there. Now you can only have a maximum of 3 cards per, of 3 of the same card per deck that you are playing, which is a maximum of 40 cards, by the way. So any extra cards you can definitely disenchant or liquefy. Now your maximum health per game is 20 health points, and as you will see, certain functionalities actually relate to that. So with that in mind, let me stop ranting for a second there, and let's have a look at what classes there are to play in this game. So for one, if we were to look at decks and create a new deck, this will allow us to choose between our available 7 classes. Now all of these classes have an individual leader that you can edit later down the line in the game. You can go to the shop and can purchase different leaders, and the functionalities stay the same, basically, that you just get slightly different artwork. So first off, we have Forestcraft, the Forestcraft class, led by Arissa here. And this is a very sort of combo-focused class. It works with a lot of fairies and elves, and basically the main mechanic of the class is if you play at least 2 cards per turn, then certain other cards that you have in your deck and at your disposal have several additional effects. And it's very, very much focused on making use of basically very small, very cheap fairy cards to get these combos out, and then buffing those combos in certain ways, and then taking these fairies and buffing them and changing them into damage spells and so on and so forth. It's very cute, very fast-paced, very combo-oriented. The second class, the Swordcraft class, is slightly trickier. Its mechanic, it's a very rushdown class, right? So it has cards that fall into 1 or 2 different types. That is to say, officers or commanders is what this class calls those types of cards. Basically, just to summarize, the commander cards buff all the officer cards. And both of these types of cards sometimes do different things depending on the other type being present on the board or not. And it's very, very much an aggressive sort of deck that rushes you down early. Now, next we have the Runecraft class. This is very much a sort of a caster, so almost like a burn deck oriented sort of thing. It's focused on a mechanic called Spell Boost, which effectively works by buffing cards in your hand when you are playing certain Runecraft cards. That's what they're called. They have the Runecraft type, and when you play a card that's that falls under the Runecraft type, it will buff other sort of cards that benefit from Spell Boost in your hand. A very quick example, let's say we have a 1 damage spell that benefits from Spell Boost. If I cast a lot of other Runecraft spells, it might, for instance, let's say, buff that 1 damage spell with 1 additional damage for every card we play that has Runecraft. So in the end, about turn 10 or something, let's say, we might end up with a very low mana cost 1 damage card that actually deals 10 damage. Next we have Dragoncraft. This is very much focused on building mana. So quick comparison would be, I suppose, the Druid in Hearthstone. That could be a thing. And there are certain cards that give you empty sort of mana points that you can use in other turns. And once you reach a certain amount of overall mana, I believe it is 7, then most cards in this deck will be buffed in one way or another. They become very, very strong. Obviously, by the way, you also have neutral cards, not only class-specific cards. Next, we have Shadowcraft. This is a necromancy-focused class. And effectively, when this class kills a unit or loses a unit, it gains a resource called Shadows, and it can then expend this resource when playing certain cards to buff their effect in one way or another. So for instance, a damage spell becomes amplified, or a creature becomes boosted, or so on. It's sort of a little in-joke there is, if you fight this class, if you kill its creatures, you lose. If you don't kill its creatures, you lose. So it's an interesting class to play. Next, we have Bloodcraft. So sort of a vampire life drain sort of focused class. Its main sort of quote-unquote gimmick mechanic is that once it reaches half health, which is 10 health because leaders have a maximum of 20 health, then its cards become buffed as well. In one way or another, very class-specific buffs, however. And finally, we have Havencraft, which is more or less a sort of a priest class or type of deck, and it is very much focused on amulets. Now, amulets are sort of enchantments or artifacts or whatever you want to call it, and they usually what they do is they either apply an effect on start or end of turn or conditional to something else happening, or they take a number of turns to count down before they apply their effect, and this is what this class is very much focused on those countdown type of things and accelerating those countdowns and just sacrificing them for other things and so on and so forth. So these are your classes. Let's pick one of these, for instance, and the deck creator is quite simple to use, to be honest. You have your filters up here if you'd like to change them in any way. So in the upper right, you click the button to apply your filters there. You have a list of available cards in the bottom row there that you can scroll through. Left clicking on any of these cards will bring up a description of what they do, so it's easy for you to see what's happening. Right clicking will add them to your deck. So you can add, like I said, a maximum of 3 of any one specific card, and you need to go up until 40 maximum cards. Okay. So with that out of the way, let me see if I can actually demonstrate a game for you, and we can have a look at how that game actually plays. Now, first off, in the upper right, very important to know, when you first start the game, if you check your crate here, which is where your sort of little benefits for missions you complete and so on are listed, you're going to find a whole lot of things to claim because the guys behind this game at Cygames give you a whole lot of card packs to start with. I believe there are about 26 or something card packs. They're very generous with them, and they come from both available card sets right now. Usually when they have a sort of an issue with the game, like maybe the servers are down or something, they will award card packs as a little sort of an apology, just to keep everybody pleased. So make sure to come here and retrieve all of your sort of rewards that you can claim once you have gone through the initial tutorial that the game sort of presents you with, which, by the way, is skippable mission by mission. There's like 4 or 5 tutorial missions. You can skip through all of them, so that's there's no problem there. Now, below that, you will have missions as well, which is going to list you all of the available achievements that you can get. So in this case, for instance, if I play 1 chapter of a story, then I can get a free card pack ticket. So we might as well do that, right? Let's demonstrate it with that. So we can also look at how to open these card packs and what they look like. So let's go with the story arc. Let's go with the solo mission for now, main story. And why not take Orisa here, Forest Craft, so fairy deck, combo deck. Let's go with that. So you can have a look at the loading times. They are not big. The story is split by chapters here. So we have a beginning, our first story, and our reward is going to be this particular card, Elf Metallurgist, if we manage to win. Alright, we have a little summary here. Let's give the voice acting a chance to happen. Alright, we have a little intro. The intro is the same for all of the main stories. It's the ominous presence has filled the skies. People know it by one name, the Morning Star. It's a promise of freedom. I mean, I'm not going to take the time to read it for you. Honestly, it's a bit cliche. The story is nothing special. You do get a nice little cutscene of animation when you reach the last mission or when you beat it, or I don't necessarily remember when that happens, but it's very well done. Like everything else in the game that relates to art style, it's very pleasant and very worked on.
This is what I trained for.
But it's nothing special. I mean, don't expect like super complex depth or like mind-blowing twists.
I think I've seen that creature's mark somewhere before. Ah, the Morning Star. Maybe I'll find Lusaria there.
Oh.
More of them. That mark is the Morning Star. Where have you taken Lusaria?
Indeed.
Are you hurt? I'm moving in.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Now we've been cloned.
What was that?
It changed shape, but they're no match for me.
You take that one.
All right. So the voice acting, love it or hate it, it can be a bit over the top, a bit silly. I personally find it somewhat charming. I don't think it's super bad, actually. I don't think it's terrible. It's cheesy. It's not that bad. Okay, so most of these main stories are focused around you learning the game for a little bit. So as you can see, we start with maximum mana, so it's 10 out of 10 right there under the end turn button. So it's not a regular game by any stretch. You can see our portrait there, the only card that we have access to, and the big yellow orb shows you the evolve points that you have. So we have 1 evolve point. A little dark elf here. You can click on it to see what it does. And if we click and drag it all the way over the
forest abandoned me.
playing field there, then we take it out. So that's turn number 1.
I act at my heart's command.
Right. So he has a warded creature out. Yes, so tutorial. If we attack with our dark elf here, then it will put a fairy into our hand. And the fairies are, if I click on it, you'll see that it's a 1 mana, 1 attack, 1 defense sort of follower. So let's click and drag to attack. There we go, we got our card. Very simple. Bit of tutorial, then we can play our fairy card.
Hey, let's play.
So again, not representative of the actual experience, as this is more of a tutorial mission, but mechanics-wise, you can see how similar it is to something like Hearthstone. You draw 1 card per turn, obviously, and you play them in a similar way. There's nothing super complex like you'd see in a Magic the Gathering game. There are no multiple phases. They're basically beginning of turn, your play phase, end of turn, and then it cycles over to the opponent. There are slight differences in the sense that obviously you have evolve points, and slight differences in the way that well, in the number of cards that you draw at the beginning, I suppose, compared to a game that you're used to. But anyway, let's get this over with quickly. So, deal 2 damage to an enemy follower. Do that. Then we place a fairy into our hand. If we play that, we reach the number of 2 cards played this turn, which will activate the combo mechanic for this elf metallurgist. So, it will deal 2 damage to an enemy follower if we've played at least 2 other cards this turn, which we have, so let's do it.
Atoms of steel, heed my call.
My light of hope.
That's that done with, and you get to see how Evolve looks. So we can strengthen our guile here to make it deal 4 damage instead of 2 by dragging this little orb icon, or by clicking on it and clicking Evolve.
You're done for.
There you go. It's an evolved Dark Elf 4, or Four.
Just don't.
Another fairy for attacking, and we have finished the mission by attacking with our remaining fairy. There you go, nice and easy.
I did it. I won.
Right, that wasn't hard at all. And we got our card pack, as well as a couple of additional cards. Now, I'm going to skip through this for your benefit so we can look at a piece of card opening here. A bit of card pack opening, rather. So I'll leave it to you to explore these campaigns. They're worth doing for the rewards that they give you. They will give you cards, they will give you vials, and they will give you arena tickets, which you can use to play in that game, that mode. So, now that we have a card pack ticket, let's go to the shop and see how that works. So we can buy packs, and we can also customize our leader. You can have different titles, you can have little flags that you can put alongside your profile so people know what country you're hailing from, and so on. Some of the titles are quite funny, like Please Help, or somewhat. But, let's look at buying packs. So, on the left side here, you see we have 2 sets, the standard card pack set and the Darkness Evolved set, and we can buy these different types of packs with tickets, with rupees, or with crystals, which is the real-life money conversion currency thing. So, for the standard card packs, we have 2 tickets available. Let's click buy. Let's get both packs. And, yep, I'd like to buy those. So this is a pack. If I click on it, it'll open and list a bunch of cards. Very satisfying. Click and drag to reveal all of them. And let's see what we got. We got a Skeleton Viper for the Necromancy class, the Shadowcraft. Got a Fence Sprite for our Forestcraft class, so we could improve our deck with this, which is interesting. Fanfare basically means when you play that card, it does this effect. So we can choose an enemy follower with this card and it can attack, and so on and so forth. And obviously, some of these have evolved. Some of these are just spells, like this Draconification, transforming a follower into a dragon, which is a 5/5 follower that costs 5 mana. Pretty cool. And yeah, it's nothing super hard here. There you go. We've opened our second one, and we have I believe, a rare card of some description here. So Petal Fencer, again for the Forestcraft class, which transforms each allied fairy that comes into play. So those little 1/1 guys into Petal Fencers. So into one of these, which are 2/2. Pretty good, I would say. All right, and so that's how card packs work, I suppose. Nothing too complicated. There's a different flavor going from set to set, obviously. And I'll leave it to you to explore the kind of cards that you can get, the beautiful artwork that they have, and the different sort of possibilities of building your own decks with these. Now, let's actually see if we can find a multiplayer game to get wrecked in. That would be interesting. Let's play an untranked match, get our only shitty deck. Let's see if we can actually find a game. So it's... I suppose the answer to the question, is this basically anime Hearthstone, is, I would say yes and no. Mechanically, it is very similar to something like Hearthstone, but the depth of the cards is... I wouldn't say the game is necessarily more complex than Hearthstone, but there's a different sort of flavor to how the mechanics actually work. You'll find similar things like haste, as here, and it's called Storm. You'll see, block be called Ward. You'll see Bane be listed as a mechanic, which basically means if my creature deals damage to another creature, that just outright dies. You'll see destroy cards. You'll see damage cards, creatures that summon other creatures, and so on. So very familiar, everything mechanically as well. But I feel that the addition of the evolve mechanic, which hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate here in an actual game, kind of turns the gameplay around enough to make the game compelling, especially if you're a fan of the theme rather. And our connection timed out. Let's retry. So if you're a fan of the theme, sort of more anime art style here, with the theme of the cards themselves, like dragons and ghosts and spirits and whatnot, which is pretty cool. And you also find that the sort of old mechanics of your usual trading card game are becoming a little bit stale, maybe. And then something like this might serve you well.
Time for me to prove myself.
You must
So
die.
let's see if we can have a pleasant game here. So we're going second, which means we get more cards. We draw 2 additional cards. Let's see if we want to redraw anything. I think I'm pretty good for now. Nice low cost cards. Let's say hi.
Hi there.
Let's speed things up.
Alright, that guy has haste or storm, how it's called in this game. We draw 2 cards, but have only 1 mana, and everything costs at least 2 mana. So let's end the turn. Probably gonna get wrecked. This is very much a demonstration deck, so it's not intended to be a professional display of what you can do with this game.
Oh, come on.
Alright, what did this guy play? Oh, it's just the 3/1. Now, we can either prepare for the future by buffing random allied followers with things, or we can put a elf guard down, or we could play one of these fairy whisperers, so we can get more fairies in our hand. I think though we're gonna place the Will of Destiny down, just to make sure that we can buff anything else that we place later in the game at every start of our turn. So he's gonna hit me in the face. Let's see if he plays anything else. He has 2 officers for now. You can also press the trait button here to list what he has. Also, he just buffed that guy and smacked me in the face. That's not good. We do have a spell that can take care of that, however. It's called Surefire Bullet. Just gonna use it to kill it. Nice and efficient. Let's end the
Die.
turn. Have no board control as of yet, but hey. So yeah, the main differences, I suppose, from a game like Hearthstone come from the evolve mechanic, which by the way you see is going to be enabled in one turn for both me and the enemy player here. And the guy that goes second not only gets 3 evolve points total, but he also gets to evolve first. So we can actually play something here. Let's say that we want... why not play the Elf Guard? Let's play the Elf Guard.
Fate binds us all.
Let us play the Well of Destiny again, I believe. Just make sure that we buff even higher. And then I'm going to evolve the guy I just played so I can take down one of these creatures.
You're done for.
So like I said, evolving enables my creature to attack the very same turn it comes into play.
I'll teach you.
And that takes care of that. Now he's likely going to get rid of my guy, just so my Wells of Destiny here don't buff it. We'll see what he actually does. So yeah, again, the main differences between a game like this and Hearthstone are the evolve mechanic and the fact that each class-specific mechanic is quite interesting. You don't have a class-specific action like you do in Hearthstone, but you do have mechanics, like the combo mechanic for the fairy deck, or the commander officer mechanic for the Swordcraft deck there. So this guy just played the Noble Knight, which summoned 2 knights, and then he just burned my guy away. So we're not doing well, that's for sure. Let's play the Fairy Whisperer.
May the forest be
That puts 2 fairies in our hand. We can play one of these fairies for our combo limit of 2 cards per turn, and then if we play the Elf Guard, we'll gain +1/+1 and ward for him. Or her, rather.
Fate binds us all.
Also, you can have a maximum of only 5 cards on your side of the table at any one point. Now, I want to get rid of that big 5/2 guy, and I'm going to evolve my
It won't be long
little
now.
Fairy Whisperer lady here, so I can go ahead
Don't push
and I can
yourself.
attack
Help me,
him.
fairies.
Now I sacrifice another evolve point for that, but hey, what are you gonna do? Gotta hold the line. So it's very much sort of a fallback mechanic, the evolve, at times. Sometimes it's a very useful combo thing, otherwise it can just get you out of a pinch. So that's terrible. He just buffed every single guy on his table, on the side of the table. And yeah, he's gonna run his 2/2 into that, and then he'll hit me over the face again.
Forest. Ow!
Yep. But that will buff my fairy quite significantly, actually. Let's see if we can do anything about this. So, let's play an Elf Wanderer.
Storm the forest.
I will play a fairy.
Hey, let's play.
Then I will need to run this this fairy into this big guy, so I can free up a spot on my side of the table. Put down another Elf Guard,
Fate binds
so
us
he'll get
all.
ward, or she'll get ward rather. My apologies. And I can then evolve her, and if I evolve her, she should live to guard against the remaining 3/3 when I take down that 4/3.
Oh, sully nature will pay.
Yeah,
I'll teach
let's do
you.
that. We've done a terrible job this game, but hey, this is a terrible deck, and only the power of evolve points has kept me into the game.
Try to evade my ninjutsu.
Well,
Try to evade my ninjutsu.
It won't be long
there we
now.
go.
You awakened the beast.
So that card summons itself when it enters play, and it has ambush, which means it effectively has stealth, and it cannot be targeted. directly at least by what you have. So we'll manage to live for one more turn thing, I think. For one more turn here, I think. Just by virtue of our buffed fairy. This card is nice. So Archangel Reyna, which evolves all of your allied followers. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily have any allied followers to evolve. So let's drop his 5/3.
Let's call it a night.
And yeah, I don't think I can even afford to put a Pixie Paradise down, because it'll I actually need to creature, I think, but I only have 2 slots remaining on my side of the table now, and I cannot get rid of any of these Wells of Destiny without a sacrifice card of some description. There we go, free fairy card. There is an interesting card, I believe it's called a Rose Queen for this particular class, that will, no, that's the other game, that will turn these fairies into 3 enter damage spells, basically. So for 1 mana, instead of putting down a 1/1 creature, you deal a 3 damage. It's a pretty good combo. Pretty common too. Right, so that was a battle, and I got royally screwed because I am terrible at the game, but that was not the purpose of this exercise. The purpose of this exercise was to demonstrate how this game actually plays and hopefully give you an idea of well, if you want to try this game or not. My personal conclusion is I quite like this game, to be honest. I am a fan of Hearthstone for sure. It is a very similar game, but it has a couple of different features and one unique mechanic in the form of the evolve mechanic that makes it be quite compelling. Competition is always good, and I say if this has seemed at all interesting, and if you're a fan of the art style, and if you want something that's in the same fashion that your usual trading card game is, then you might as well give it a shot and see if it entertains you for a little bit. Who knows? You might end up sticking with it more than you expect. It certainly has a lot of cards. It's pleasing to look at if you're into it. It's pleasing to open card packs, just like you usually get with these types of games. And again, it has a couple of mechanics that can make it play pretty fun. So I leave it up to you to decide. This has been me with a very quick look at Shadowverse. Hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you very much for your time and your attention, and I will see you again next time. Thanks very much, and have a very nice day. See ya!